This podcast is brought to you by the Dunfield Retirement Residence, a casually elegant retirement community located at Yonge and Eglinton in the heart of Midtown Toronto. Customized living options complement your independent, active lifestyle. Learn more at thedunfield.com.
We are students at this university, and our money is going towards genocide. You have unwittingly made us complicit. Your investments in BlackRock are directly the cause of murdering Palestinians.
That's what it sounded like 2 weeks ago on the campus of the University of Victoria in British Columbia, when a club representing students supporting Palestine disrupted a meeting of the UVic's Board of Governors. The protesters called out the university president for refusing to meet with them and accused UVic of supporting genocide, because the school, it says, holds some investments in a company that makes weapons for Israel. This is just one example of what both the Hillel Jewish Students Group on campus and local Jewish community leaders on Vancouver Island say has been making them feel unsafe in the city since October 7th. Sure, there have been large and enthusiastic crowds recently celebrating Hanukkah together with local politicians, and so that was nice, but it comes at the end of a semester when Jewish students report being spit on campus. Students and professors say they've had to run the gauntlet of regular anti-Israel protests to get to and from class. And in one case, a student was too scared to come to school for more than 2 months. Meanwhile, the community is still upset that a city councillor wore a keffiyeh at work and signed a petition denying Hamas terrorists raped Israeli women and girls. It all makes for a tense time in the fastest growing Jewish community in Canada.
There have been incidences of flyers and left on car windshields, and there are signs here and there and in Victoria, and words are written in paint or whatever on sidewalks. You know, it's the free Gaza. And I always want to write after that, from Hamas.
I'm Ellen Besner, and this is what Jewish Canada sounds like for Tuesday, December the 19th, 2023. Welcome to the CJN Daily, a podcast of the Canadian Jewish News, sponsored by Metropia. Despite its small size, Victoria's Jewish community of about 4,300 people has found itself impacted directly by the Middle East war since October 7th. Indeed, Victoria gained international headlines because of City Councillor Susan Kim, who hasn't been reprimanded, hasn't received any code of conduct sanctions, and although the Premier Dave Eby and others have condemned her actions, and she's apologized twice, and she's met with local Rabbi Harry Breckner and asked that her name be taken off the offending letter, Jewish leaders still feel a sense of unfinished business. Last week, they met with Victoria's mayor once more to talk about that and about what life has been like for Jewish students and profs at UVic. To find out more, I'm joined by Sharon Fitch. She's president of the Jewish Federation of Victoria and Vancouver Island, and by Noa Arama, co-president of the Hillel Club on campus.
Hi, thank you.
We've been following, of course, some of the incidents that have been impacting the Jewish community after October 7th in Victoria and on Vancouver Island, but I wanted to bring you guys on because you're right there, frontline view of what it's been like for you guys to live there. I think I'd like to start with Sharon. We're just finishing Hanukkah, and I know that there were some menorah ceremonies and some big crowds came out in some of them. Maybe you want to give me a bit of a sort of a just tell me what's been happening, the good news, okay?
I attended 3 public menorah lightings in the city. All 3 were well attended and freilich, as we say in Yiddish. There was a lighting in front of the legislature, which had about 300 people in attendance.
And there was no danger. What was the police presence like, or what was the requirement of security?
At both the legislature and City Hall, there was visible and ample police presence. Nothing, no loud shouting. There was nothing was disruptive at all.
But the very fact that you have to have this speaks to how things have changed maybe since October 7th. So, Noah, what's it like for the UVic students?
Yeah, so most of the negative things come from different clubs on our campus that they've been working together to kind of make more noise to get the attention of the administration. Most of their campaign is focused on the fact that our president released a statement that wasn't very supportive of Palestinians necessarily. They were trying to be very neutral, which is good. But basically, they're organizing walkouts. So far we've seen 3, 2 of which were quite big, and they would march from the quad, the center of our campus, to the administration building, and we'll hear all the slogans like from the river to the sea, and basically telling the president that he's committing a genocide by not condemning Israel and the government of Israel. So the other things we've seen come from our student society, the UVSS. They released a statement that was quite anti-Israel, and that very much rattled a lot of the students. So yeah, our most of our problems come from student organizations and not necessarily the university, which is good.
When you say rattled, what does that look like?
It's not easy walking on campus and seeing such a big protest, the Israeli occupation, and from the river to the sea, and the signs that we've seen, Intifada until victory, and most of the people that are holding them don't even know what Intifada means. Not only during walkouts, but we've seen these signs all over campus. And so the students, walking on campus, it doesn't feel safe, especially on these days. And I know that a few students decided not to attend school on days where they had walkouts, because, it's hard emotionally to see, but it's also kind of scary. You never know. Doesn't feel very safe.
What about wearing mezuzot or taking jewelry? Are people being careful about that? I know, for example, that's happening in many other campuses where students some are not, and some are like, no, we're going to wear it, and we're not, and others are like, I don't feel safe. So how is it with your group?
Yeah, I think it also varies. Myself, I took my Magen David necklace off after October 7th for a while, and then I decided to put it back on. But most of my friends are very proud and brave, and they all wear their Magen David proudly, it's great to see, but also it's always like I'm worried myself. I immigrated from Israel, and so facing antisemitism is something that's new to me and hard, and so seeing them gives me a lot of strength and showing me that I can be proud of who I am.
Mm-hmm. I did read 2 statements that UVic put out, and they were both immediately condemning the massacre of the Israelis, and as well as, it was very balanced, I would say.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything very problematic about it. Sharon, how do you feel?
The information I read is what was sent to me by the director of Hillel, Tal Katz. I did read a mild statement put out by the president of UVic, but that's not why I wrote to UVic. I wrote because Tal Katz had written a fairly fiery letter to the president about the state of non-safety, shall we say, for Jewish students on campus and what Jewish students had been facing. He outlined several incidents as students were spat upon. They were verbally accosted. They had sort of vile and vitriolic language thrown in their direction, to the extent that there was at least one student who hasn't attended classes since October 7th. And when this was brought up, that this student contacted the administration, they gave her permission to not attend classes. Well, she's paying for her education like everybody else, but she's given permission to not attend. This is a level of fear, of discomfort, of not wanting to be there, to be picked out, to be finger pointed to. This is not okay. So I followed up with a letter to the UVic administration, to President Hall, following Tal's letter. And I sent that letter on November 7th, and I have heard not one word from anyone in the administration.
Noa, let's bring you back. Can you just elaborate a little bit more on what Sharon just talked about?
As Sharon mentioned, we saw students were spot on and called a few slurs and for wearing a kippah. And we know that a few students had trouble with their professors, but mostly I'm happy to say that our students have been very strong and wanted to attend and not let that not let people shut us down. And the statements that we've seen from our student society have been nothing but horrifying, really. So that wasn't great. And we did have chats with the UVSS board, the student society, and at first they seemed to be collaborative, and they wanted to hear from us. And the first statement that they put out was okay. It was pretty neutral. But then a few weeks later, they had another meeting with us regarding a different club, and they basically told us that they were going to put out a statement that's very anti-Israel, and they did, and it wasn't very good. And that again made students very, very upset. They also decided to donate money to humanitarian aid, which we are for. However, it did rattle a few students.
I want to turn to the other big story that's, of course, seizing you now, and that you're involved in, which, of course, was the city councillor, Susan Kim, who signed a letter with other Canadian feminist leaders that they did not believe that Israeli women were raped, murdered, and tortured. What's the latest on that?
There has been nothing said from City Council. Now, that week that story broke about Susan Kim having signed the letter, the lid blew off everything. She was condemned on all sides by various people, by organizations. The city councillors, even one in particular, made a public statement against Susan Kim and could not believe and couldn't understand how she could have signed such a letter. And then there's been nothing. So after that week, everything settled down. There has been not a single word. A few councillors continue to reach out to me. So she's still there. She's very quiet. Nobody has come back to question her. Nobody seems to be questioning the fact of, it's like, it's in the past. Let's move on.
I did hear that one of the rabbis is still was trying to outreach to her, maybe trying to educate her. Do you know if that's true, how that was received?
I did hear Rabbi Harry Breckner of Congregation Emmanuel apparently met with her, and his philosophy is second chance. That's how he operates. Well, this is somebody who's ill-informed, misinformed, not informed, didn't know what she was doing, so second chance. That is not necessarily the philosophy of the Jewish community. Certain people will go along with that, but that has caused negative feelings. That there are a lot of people.
She apologized a couple times, did she not, this Councillor Kim?
She asked that her name be removed from the letter that she signed. What I read is that she said she didn't read the letter carefully, so she didn't really know what she was signing, and her name has been removed from that. But there was no apology to the Jewish community. She didn't apologize to women, to Jewish women and girls of Victoria, and any women and girls of Victoria, for basically saying they lied.
So I know that BC and Premier Eby has done a couple of very important legislation and programs in recent weeks, months. First of all, they adopted this policy to have mandatory Holocaust education in 2025. That was a big deal, right? And he came out, 4 parties I read came out in the legislature first week of October, condemning Hamas. So, I mean, how is it actually for the community in terms of what the government and the police and the state is doing? Are you feeling that they've got your back?
Certainly the Jewish community is pleased with the policies that they've come out with. From the police perspective, we feel full protection. They're supportive, and they've come to our events. We've had meetings with them at Hillel, security, all of this. The Holocaust education, it's late, kind of late, but they woke up to the fact that, and they're going to do something in 2025. Okay, well, we'll move ahead with that. But it's politics. Our provincial government, they still have to answer to all of their constituents. There are groups in society that are pro-Palestinian. We have every Saturday since October 7th, there has been a pro-Palestinian rally in downtown Victoria. It was on Sunday, now it's on Saturdays. That they say they will continue to meet and march until there is a ceasefire. And that's what they do. So it's been told to our municipal government officials that Jews do not feel safe going downtown on the weekends. But saying that, one feels safe. It's not like so condensed and compacted, such as at the University of Victoria, where Jewish students are seeing this up close. Personally, I feel safe. I live in a residential neighborhood, 15-minute walk from downtown Victoria. I have my menorah stickers in the window of my our decorations in the window, our dining room window, which faces the street, and I haven't felt the need to hide anything. Maybe it's just where I'm at in life that I'm going to move on. I'm going to show my Jewishness, and personally, I have a lot of support from our non-Jewish friends. That is not the case with many people that I know.
Sharon, I want to just say, I know that this isn't the first thing that's happened in Victoria. I mean, I'm talking October 7th. They made a threat to the Victoria Film Festival. There was an anti-Semitic threat you had to deal with. This is before anything happened in November of last year, and there's graffiti on the Chabad synagogue. It's not, and there's been issues at UVic before. How different is it now?
There hasn't been an increase in visible anti-Semitism, such as graffiti, at our synagogues downtown. UVic is another story. Noa can speak to that. It's true anti-Semitism is always around. We know that. Today, it's more from the perspective of pro-Palestinian philosophies. I can't say it's directed towards individual Jewish people downtown Victoria. I don't think that the downtown shul has had any more than they ever had before, where things always get cleaned up right away. I mean, there has been graffiti on the downtown shul, but the police are called, whatever. It's like we're in the middle, we're at the north end of downtown. There are many problems in the society around this synagogue. It's the general feeling out there from a political perspective.
Okay, so what's going forward? What do you hope will happen, or what are you expecting will happen in the next couple of weeks in Victoria? It's going to be quiet, I guess, because schools are closed for the holidays.
Hopefully, we'll be able to get more things done and taken care of in front of the UVSS, and kind of figure out a way to make the school environment safer with regards to different student groups that have been violating some of the policies that are in place. It's hard to say what's going to happen next semester, but if the war is still going in Israel, I don't think that it's going to be any different, and people are still angry, and so we're expecting a nice comeback for the next semester, and we'll see.
Sharon, what do you hope will happen? What are you working on in the next couple of weeks?
I'm working on my letters to, as I said, to the Board of Governors and the Senate of UVic. I've been meeting with various mayors and not just myself, but other members with the board and the executive director. We've been asked to meet, and there's support for the Jewish community that we have found from the municipal council, from the Capital Regional District. We are letting them know that Jewish people in Victoria and the region, of which we're part of a greater region, are feeling unsafe. And this is something that the local government officials hadn't considered before, and they're distressed by the fact that their constituents living here in Victoria do not feel safe. And this is not right. People who live in Victoria should feel safe living here. It would be nice to get some resolution about this municipal issue with this councillor. I am not holding high hopes.
We'll be in touch. We'll stay in touch. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's what Jewish Canada sounds like for this episode of the CJN Daily, sponsored by Metropia. Integrity, community, quality, and customer care. Before we end, I need to update you on that story about the teenager from Ottawa charged with terror offenses. Now, the RCMP say they've raided the boy's house and found explosive material that could facilitate a terrorist activity and was intended to endanger lives. So they've now charged him with 3 more terrorism-related counts. He appeared in court in Ottawa on Monday, but the courtroom was closed to the media. Meanwhile, we're watching what happens with the Toronto police and whether they will charge any of the pro-Hamas protesters who harassed shoppers and made death threats at the Eaton Centre on the weekend. The police union says the shopper who was a target decided to drop the whole matter, and since none of the police were threatened, they're not doing anything. But a lot of folks think they should. Meanwhile, in Ottawa, school board trustee Dr. Neely Kaplan-Murth is in the news for 2 reasons. The first is because Ottawa police have charged a man with several hate-related crimes after somebody made a threatening phone call to her medical office at the end of August. And on Tuesday night, the Ottawa Carleton District School Board is meeting to decide the future of Dr. Kaplan-Murth's tenure there as trustee. They're planning to censor her for breaking the code of conduct because of her behavior in all her social media posts. So a lot on the agenda. Stay tuned to the CJN Daily. Thanks for listening.
The Dunfield Retirement Residence offers customized living options to complement your independent, active lifestyle. Welcome home. Welcome to the Dunfield. Visit us at thedunfield.com to book a personal tour.